You might have once believed that Hollywood was a world of absolute perfection. The flashing lights, the glamorous gowns, the dazzling smiles. But the truth behind the curtain can make anyone shiver. Some stars are remembered not just for their talent, but for something far less flattering. An unforgettable smell that haunted entire film crews. Damp wigs that reeked like moldy fabric, sour feet that cleared out rehearsal rooms, breath so overwhelming it forced co-stars to step back. These weren't just silly rumors, they became haunting tales that turned their names into cruel whispers. And now, get ready, because we're about to uncover a shocking list of 11 famous black actresses known across Hollywood for their infamous odor. 11. Pam Grier. The smoke that clung to her skin. When people think of Pam Grier, they remember the queen of blaxploitation of the 1970s, a symbol of power and allure. But behind the spotlight was a less glamorous secret. Pam Grier became notorious for the way cigarette smoke seeped into her very skin, a smell that followed her like a shadow, leaving those around her both curious and uneasy. In 1975, during the filming of Friday Foster in Los Angeles, Pam Grier turned her dressing room into a smoky den. She chain-smoked constantly, while waiting for her cue, while changing costumes, even while the makeup artist was brushing powder across her face. On April 12, 1975, just before a critical scene was set to roll, the smoke in her room grew so thick that a wardrobe assistant burst into coughing fits and had to run outside. From that day on, whispers spread through the crew. Pam always carries the smell of smoke. The talk didn't stay backstage. Some male co-stars later admitted that filming love scenes with her felt like a nightmare. One colleague from Sheba, Baby 1975, recalled that even standing close, you could smell the mix of nicotine, skin, and heavy makeup. A supporting actor confessed outright, "Nobody dared to wear Pam's dressing gown after her because it gave off a stench like a cigarette butt drowned in wet ash." Stories like these spread, branding Pam with a secret fear, the smell that stuck. Pam wasn't oblivious to the problem. By late 1976, as rumors swirled around Hollywood, she started drenching herself in expensive perfumes to cover it up. Chanel No. 5, Guerlain Shalimar. She sprayed them thick before walking the red carpet, but instead of masking the smoke, the sharp floral notes fused with it, creating a bizarre new scent, so overpowering that reporters pinched their noses. One journalist described the New York premiere of Drum, 1976. Walking past Pam Grier felt like stepping into a hotel room where someone had just stubbed out a cigarette in a glass of brandy. By the late 1970s, Pam's strong smell became an inside joke in the film industry. Some claimed that just opening a door she had closed moments before revealed the lingering mix of smoke and perfume that clung for hours. A photographer remembered a shoot in Los Angeles on February 3, 1978. "We had to swap out the backdrop after Pam left because it was so saturated with smoke we couldn't use it again." Today, Pam Grier is honored as a cinematic icon, a trailblazer of the silver screen. Few bring up the odor that once shadowed her, but for those who worked with her, the memory is vivid. Pam emerging from the smoky dressing room, regal posture, dazzling smile, and an invisible haze trailing behind, clinging to every inch of space. A tiny but shocking detail that made her one of the few stars remembered not only for her talent, but also for a cloud of smoke so unforgettable, it became part of her legend. 10. Cicely Tyson. Herbal scent turned into Hollywood's smelly nightmare. Cicely Tyson, the woman whose elegance and talent won the admiration of audiences across America, carried a habit that became an unforgettable legend. In 1972, she rose to fame with Sounder, then 2 years later stunned the nation with the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. But few knew that while America celebrated her as a symbol of black dignity, colleagues and reporters whispered about a troubling secret. Cicely always carried a strange smell. It wasn't perfume, nor was it cigarettes like so many other stars. It came from roots, dried leaves, and herbal mixtures she kept with her. Born into a Caribbean family in Harlem, Cicely held an unshakable belief in traditional healing with herbs. When her career took off, she never tried to hide it. On the set of the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman in the summer of 1974 in Louisiana, she boiled herbs in her hotel room as if recreating an old ritual. The third-floor hallway of the Hilton filled with a pungent, sharp odor. A housekeeper later said, "The smell slipped under every door, like someone was cooking a giant pot of bitter medicine." Guests next door complained to the front desk, some even thinking the plumbing had broken. What shocked people more was that Cicely didn't stop there. She carried a small cloth pouch in her handbag filled with dried roots. Every time she opened it, the acrid scent clung to her clothes and her hair. Fellow actors whispered that stepping into an elevator after Cicely meant being hit in the face with a smell both sour and earthy, half like scorched weeds, half like the kitchen of a tropical healer. One supporting actor once said, "Standing next to Cicely felt like being in an herbal medicine shop, except everyone was wearing evening gowns." The rumors spread fast. In early 1976, at an event in New York, a journalist described her in print. Cicely Tyson entered the room as if carrying the entire Caribbean herb market with her. Those words cut deep. A Los Angeles tabloid quickly ran the headline, "Cicely and the Mystery Smell." From then on, what had begun as a cultural tradition became media gossip. While her peers wore expensive perfumes to shine, Cicely carried the aura of another world, a scent that clashed with American taste of the time. Her elegance on screen stood in stark contrast to the discomfort she caused off it. She could make the world cry as Miss Jane Pittman, but with just a breath or the casual opening of her pouch, a room was flooded with the harshness of herbs. What had once been a proud cultural inheritance turned into a mocking label Hollywood attached to her. Cicely Tyson, the actress with the strangest smell in history. 9. Grace Jones, when sweat became a weapon. On stage. In the 1980s, Grace Jones was more than a singer or actress. She was a phenomenon. With her androgynous beauty, chiseled features like bronze sculpture, and piercing eyes, she left audiences in awe. But beneath the spotlight was a raw truth remembered by anyone who stood close. Grace Jones radiated a sharp, heavy sweat, a smell both off-putting and strangely fitting for the rebellious image she embraced. On the night of May 23, 1981, at Le Palace, the legendary Paris nightclub, the crowd packed tight, cigarette smoke and champagne filling the air. As the drums kicked in, Grace stormed the stage in a skin-tight black latex bodysuit. Fans roared as she danced, spun, and bent under lights so hot they seemed to burn skin. For nearly 2 hours, she moved non-stop. Sweat poured down her neck, soaking into the airtight latex. With no escape, the smell built up, slowly spreading through the hall. A reporter present wrote, "By the 40th minute, you weren't just hearing the music, you were feeling Grace's body scent pressing over you. It was strong, harsh, and relentless, just like her music." The crowd reacted in strange ways. Some covered their noses with handkerchiefs, some left, but most seemed entranced. People closed their eyes and swayed as if the sweat itself was part of the art. One devoted fan later said, "I'll never forget that night. Grace didn't just perform, she exposed her body, its scent included. I was shocked and captivated at the same time." Backstage, it was harsher. Her tailor admitted the latex suits were impossible to wash clean. The sweat soaked the lining so deeply that opening her costume trunk filled a room with an overwhelming stench. In Milan, hotel staff once complained that the hallway where her costumes were stored smelled like an abandoned gym. Yet instead of hiding it, Grace laughed at the complaints. In a 1982 interview with Interview magazine, she bluntly declared, I don't believe in deodorant. I want my body to be real, primal. If the audience wants to know who Grace Jones is, they need to smell me." That statement caused a sensation. In a Hollywood world of makeup and perfume, Grace turned her sweat into an artistic declaration. The remarkable thing was she didn't lose anything for it. On the contrary, her image became even more unique. She embodied freedom, wildness, the courage to break rules. Sweat, which society saw as a flaw, became her weapon. Years later, when people recall Grace Jones, they don't just remember the voice, the surreal beauty, or the outrageous fashion. They remember the sweat storm, a shocking detail that made her an icon no one could duplicate. 8. Whoopi Goldberg. When the hippie smell became a scar. Whoopi Goldberg stepped onto the off-Broadway stage in the early 1980s like someone tearing down the rules. She didn't wear heavy makeup or chase polished glamour. Her hippie roots gave her faith in absolute natural living, free-spirited eating, skipping regular baths, wearing the same clothes for days. That lifestyle left her body carrying a lingering musk, a mix of stale sweat and smoke seeping into every space she entered. One September night in 1983, at a small Brooklyn bar, Whoopi performed 2 straight hours of stand-up. The audience roared with laughter at her wit. But when she came down to hug fans afterward, a shocking detail emerged. People were hit by the sharp odor under her arms, cutting through even the smell of beer in the room. Some later recalled that while the hug moved them, the lingering memory was the unmistakable body odor. When The Color Purple premiered in 1985, Whoopi became a star overnight. But the past lingered. In February 1986, tabloids dug up old stories claiming, back in off-Broadway, people avoided sitting near her because her clothes and underarms smelled like a gym. That rumor stuck, scratching at her rising image. Backstage at the Oscars in March 1986, Whoopi sat in a gown, listening to the whispers. She laughed loudly, daring the world, but a flicker in her eyes revealed the wound. The scent that once symbolized youthful freedom was twisted by Hollywood into a label of shame. Beneath the glittering lights, there remained a heavy memory, the smell of freedom recast as filth. 7. Eartha Kitt, the breath of liquor that haunted the stage. Eartha Kitt, the sensual icon of the 1950s through the 70s, was famous for her smoky, mysterious voice and her unforgettable turn as Catwoman in Batman, 1967. She embodied wild allure, the kind that once even caught the eye of John F. Kennedy. But behind the glamour was a shocking detail, a shadow few wanted to speak of. Eartha's breath often carried the heavy scent of liquor. In early 1978, at a cabaret show at New York's Rainbow and Stars, the crowd packed the room to see Eartha. As she leaned in to whisper the opening lines of "I Want to Be Evil" into the microphone, people in the front row pulled back. It wasn't the voice, it was the wave of cognac on her breath. She had been drinking to keep her fire blazing on stage, but instead, it turned the performance into something haunting. Backstage, colleagues often said that speaking with her up close meant catching the mix of alcohol and smoke that seemed to hang in the air. A young singer who worked with her in 1981 admitted, "If she leaned in close to my ear, the breath alone made me turn my head away." Makeup crews sometimes set out bowls of mint and lemon slices in her dressing room, but Eartha rarely touched them. The peak came on February 14, 1983, during a live television taping in Los Angeles. In the middle of the interview, she leaned toward the host with a dazzling smile. He held his grin, but several in the audience swore they saw him push back in his chair as if retreating from her breath. Even so, Eartha Kitt never changed. For her, a drink before the stage was ritual, the fuel that gave her voice its sultry rasp. To those who came close, the memory was not just of her passionate singing, but of the shiver that came with the smell of liquor wrapped around her every word. In a strange paradox, that very breath became part of her legend, adored by some, whispered about by others. 6. Alfre Woodard, The Burden of a Sweating Face. Alfre Woodard, the acclaimed actress celebrated with multiple Emmys and an Oscar nomination, always appeared on screen with strength and grace. Yet behind the cameras she bore a private struggle: hyperhidrosis, excessive sweating, especially on her face. In November 1983, while filming Cross Creek in Florida, the weather was barely 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The crew wore heavy coats, but Alfre stood under the lights with sweat pouring down her face as if it were midsummer. Her makeup melted, mixing with chemicals to create a sharp smell that made the makeup artist wince as she worked. Every few minutes, the shoot had to pause so Alfre could blot her forehead and neck with cotton pads. By the end of each scene, the trash bin overflowed with soaked cotton. The most shocking moment came when she filmed a close embrace with a co-star in a sealed studio. Her sweat streamed so fast that it seeped into the makeup, releasing a pungent scent that made her partner pull away. From then on, cruel whispers followed. Alfre smelled bad. The rumor spread beyond the set, becoming an invisible weight that attached itself to her name. Alfre suffered quietly, often crying alone in the dressing room, wondering why her own body betrayed her. But instead of surrendering, she poured herself into her craft. The same sweat that embarrassed her added depth to her performances, a rawness no one else could touch. From what seemed like shame, she carved proof of her dedication. In the end, the world remembered her not for an odor, but for roles that reached the soul. 5. Vanessa Williams, the Smelly Beauty Queen. Vanessa Williams made history in 1983, crowned Miss America with radiant beauty, glowing skin, and the confident smile of the first black woman to hold the title. But just a year later, in July 1984, leaked nude photos forced her to resign in humiliation. Her image collapsed overnight, and from then on, everything tied to Vanessa was scrutinized, even twisted into cruel lies. In 1985, desperate to reclaim herself on Broadway, Vanessa trained relentlessly. On June 21st, in a Manhattan rehearsal studio, she danced for 5 straight hours. Sweat poured down, soaking her clothes. Without time to change, she rushed to a press interview. Entering the air-conditioned room, the heavy scent of sweat rising from her damp clothes made a few reporters frown. Rivals pounced on the moment, spinning the tale. Vanessa always reeks in rehearsal. The rumor spread fast, beyond Broadway and into the tabloids. By July 1985, one paper screamed, "From glamorous queen to sweaty gym girl." The blow seemed designed to bury her forever. At just 22, she sat in her New York apartment that night, her clothes still wet, tears mixing with sweat, wondering if anyone would ever see her as an artist again, or just as a joke. But she refused to disappear. Vanessa turned the rehearsal hall into her rebirth. Every drop of sweat became proof of resilience. She accepted that smell as the scar of disgrace, but also as the weapon that pushed her forward. In 1988, she released The Right Stuff and stepped into acting, slowly winning back her image through sheer talent. The cruel tag, Vanessa the Smelly, didn't kill her. It became part of the story of a woman who rose from disgrace. History no longer remembers her as a dethroned beauty queen, but as an artist who turned sweat into survival. 4. Lynette Mckee. When the scent of poverty stuck Lynette Mckee was hailed as a rising star after Sparkle, 1976. Her mixed-race beauty, soulful eyes, and smooth voice led many to call her the next Diana Ross. But from her first days in Hollywood, backstage whispers followed her. Lynette had an unpleasant smell. Raised in a poor Detroit household, she grew up using cheap supermarket soap. The harsh chemical scent clung to her skin, blending awkwardly with heavy makeup. On April 1976, during her first day filming Sparkle, a stylist bent down to adjust her neckline, then recoiled slightly, blurting, "Smells like cheap soap." The words echoed across the set. Lynette froze, face burning. The crew pretended not to notice, but the rumors spread instantly. Lynette Mckee carried the smell of poverty. One crew member recalled she carried a budget body mist that left an overpowering, artificial scent. Instead of elegance, it mixed with her natural odor, creating an impression of cheapness. At a press event in New York in June 1976, one reporter wrote, "The new Hollywood darling entered the room, but the air was thick with the smell of discount perfume." From then on, Lynette was grouped among the infamously smelly stars, not for neglect, not for sweat, but for the haunting scent of poverty, cheap soap, low-grade perfume, and hardship. In a world where Chanel and Guerlain defined class, McGee became an outcast marked by scent. 3. Vanetta McGee. The musty scalp smell. Behind the scenes, Vanetta McGee burst onto the screen in 1972 with Blackula, hailed as a new black beauty icon. Her mixed-race looks and melancholy eyes captivated audiences. But backstage, a secret tormented her: the smell of her scalp. She suffered from dandruff and thick, hard-to-manage curls. Allergic to luxury hair products, she washed her hair with cheap herbal oil from a local shop. The pungent scent of roots and resin clung stubbornly to her hair. On set, wigs and styling products mixed with sweat and glue, creating an odor like damp fabric left too long in the sun. In July 1972, while filming an interior scene, co-star William Marshall recalled that after just minutes near her, the odor was obvious. Hairstylists kept swapping wig linings as they quickly absorbed the mustiness. A lighting crew member remembered, "Every time she took the wig off, the dressing room smelled like mildew. Nobody said it out loud, but everybody knew." The cruelest moment came at the Blackula wrap party in August 1972. A group of male actors joked, "Vanetta's head smell outshines Chanel." Laughter broke out, while Vanetta stood frozen in shame. From then on, the nickname, "the girl with the smelly scalp," spread, shadowing her career. In 1970s Hollywood, where women were expected to radiate perfection, such a label was a social sentence. Roles dried up. Directors who once praised her grew hesitant. To them, she was no longer just beautiful, she was a liability. Poverty, illness, and stigma fused into a stain she could never erase. To audiences, Vanetta McGee was still a screen goddess. But for those who stood close, the memory that lingered was the musty smell of her scalp, an odor that turned a rising star into a story of what might have been. 2. Angela Bassett, the foot odor nightmare, at Yale. Before becoming the explosive Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do With It, 1993, Angela Bassett was a Yale drama school student in the late 1980s. There she was known for discipline as hard as steel, grueling training, endless running and dancing to keep her body sharp. But that very intensity came with a shocking secret: the smell of her feet. Angela had only one favorite pair of sneakers. They were the shoes she had worn since her very first days at Yale Drama School. Almost like a loyal companion, she refused to part with. After running 10 kilometers around campus each morning, she would rush straight into acting class without changing shoes or socks. The damp fabric of her socks, trapped inside the tight sneakers, absorbed sweat that slowly evaporated, releasing a sour, pungent odor, the unmistakable smell of a crowded locker room. In the cramped, airless rehearsal rooms, that smell spread quickly, lingering in every corner. Students sitting near Angela often turned their faces away, some discreetly cracking open a window during class. One student, in a journal entry dated October 14, 1988, wrote, "Angela walked in, and the room instantly turned into a locker room. The foot odor was overwhelming. Everyone looked away." That blunt line, once leaked, turned into a rumor Angela could never completely erase. The worst came in spring 1989. Angela was rehearsing a classic play for 5 straight hours. When she sat down to change costumes and pulled off her sneakers, the smell hit so hard the rehearsal had to stop. One castmate even fled the room in tears from the acrid wave. The rumor of Angela's foot odor spread quickly through the Yale theater community. Some cruel voices whispered that she brought the gym with her every time she came to class. When the diary leaked, the story became gossip in the New Haven drama scene. Angela was hurt, but never backed down. She accepted the sweat and the smell as the price of fire on stage. And indeed, when she embodied Tina Turner in 1993, her muscular body electrified the world. The foot odor rumor still lingered, but it was drowned out by her stardom. Yet for those who were at Yale in the late 80s, the clearest memory wasn't just her talent. It was those rehearsal rooms thick with the stench of damp sneakers, an unforgettable ghost tied to Angela Bassett's youth. 1. Lola Falana. The sour breath. Lola Falana, the Queen of Las Vegas in the 1970s, enthralled audiences with her stunning looks and sultry voice. But for those in the front rows, one detail was more shocking than the neon lights: her breath. Falana suffered from acid reflux and smoked before shows to calm her nerves. Together, they produced a breath so harsh it clung to the microphone, a choking mix of burnt tobacco and sourness. On August 15, 1971, at the Riviera Hotel, when Falana lifted her voice, a couple in the front row left midway, whispering, "She's gorgeous, but her breath is like burning trash." Backstage, technicians complained that her microphones reeked after every set and had to be scrubbed with alcohol. A fellow singer admitted, "Talking close to Lola, if she laughed, I had to turn my head away. Her breath hit like smoke in the face." The bad breath rumor spread quickly across Las Vegas. Falana tried perfume sprays and breath mints, but the mixtures only made the odor sharper. To audiences at a distance, she remained the dazzling queen. But to those near her, the strongest memory was suffocating breath that left them gasping. The whispers, combined with her later health struggles, eventually pushed Falana out of the spotlight. In the history of Las Vegas, she is remembered both as a symbol of allure and as a star whose sour breath haunted an entire generation. Looking back, the cruel irony is clear. Sometimes a single rumor about smell was enough to shadow an entire career. Whether truth or malice, it reminds us that stars are just as fragile as anyone else. What do you think of these stories? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe so we can continue uncovering Hollywood's most shocking secrets together.